electrified tube wells. Plus, the same electrified tube well owners irrigate 10 to 12 million hectares of other farmers' land. That is the electric tube well. So that electricity irrigates something like 40 to 45 million hectares. And throughout eastern India, where there is no rural electricity, agriculture is basically dependent on diesel. So you have 12 to 15 million hectares and diesel pump irrigation. And another 7 to 8 million hectares, land belonging to some of the poorest peasants of India. They are irrigated by water purchased through renting of diesel pumps, which is the most expensive irrigation water. There is this very small amount of area that is irrigated by very expensive water, deep water that is pumped through motors which are run by diesel pumps or gensets. So this is real life-saving irrigation, and you will find this happening in many parts of Madhya Pradesh, where water tables have gone down and there is no electricity. So farmers, when their crops are dying for the one irrigation, then what they do is that they hire a genset, they use diesel to generate power, and with that power they run pumps and produce water. But this is very small, and this must probably be among the most expensive irrigation waters in the whole world. So 15 to 18 million marginal farmers in India and sharecropper families, they basically depend largely on renting diesel pumps for irrigating their crops in most of eastern India and areas like this one. Now obviously, when you keep drawing 200 cubic kilometers of groundwater every year and don't do anything to replenish those reservoirs, something is going to give. And therefore we have all these sob stories that we keep talking about. Water tables are going down, water quality is deteriorating, all kinds of energy costs are going up. But the problem is that we are neither managing the supply side of groundwater economy, nor are we managing the demand side. Here is a source of irrigation which kind of accounts for 60–70% of Indian agriculture. And yet 90% of our public investments in irrigation are still going in large surface public irrigation systems. And there basically lies the nub of the whole story, that there is a need for a complete shift in our thinking about how we are managing water. And one radical idea that we need to get used to is the idea about how are we storing water. For millennia, we've been taught to store water in surface structures. Whenever you want to irrigate, just build a reservoir. If you don't have money, build a small tank. But the farmers have begun to use increasingly subsurface storage. And aquifer storage is something that we just haven't begun talking about. So today, as of now, we have already built 270 billion cubic meters of surface storage, but that is irrigating about 15 to 16 million hectares. We are using 240 billion cubic meters of groundwater, which is irrigating 4 times as much area. So in terms of efficiency, the aquifer storage or subsurface storage does much better than groundwater storage. The other thing is that for a long time we used to think that if you build surface storage and provide surface irrigation, farmers will stop using groundwater. In the US, for example, there is a standard thing. When in certain aquifers, when groundwater is under stress, what the groundwater district or the managers will say is that you stop, we will seal all your tube wells. In lieu of your cessation of groundwater use, we will provide you surface water. So they provide surface water through interbasin transfer, and then they control groundwater use. In India, wherever we have built canal irrigation systems, if you look at most canal commands, the actual irrigation takes place through groundwater. In Mahikadala irrigation system, in Punjab, for example, Dharmadhikari has done a study that Punjab has the largest concentration of canal irrigated areas, and 75 to 80% of irrigation in Punjab occurs with tube wells. So the moment wherever you create large surface supplies, there also you find that it does not actually replace groundwater. You keep pumping more and more groundwater. So we need to think of making wholesale shift from using only surface structures at water storage to a mix of using both surface as well as groundwater storage. And for that, rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge, consumptive management of rain, surface and groundwater, they need to be the new mantra of water management. Recharge projects, participatory, they need a very strong. In Gujarat, which is kind of the extreme example of overuse of groundwater, I have been arguing with the government that Gujarat should begin to think about using surface storages to recharge groundwater. That's a standard operating procedure in most developed countries.
But in India, if you go surface storage, how can you use surface storage for recharging? You use for recharge only that water which has no alternative use. So whenever if there is wastewater, urban wastewater, you use that for recharge. Water in the dam, no, you can't touch that. I think that mindset, in my opinion, needs to change. Actually, nature, if you look at it, nature already does a good part of the job. This slide shows data from 270 villages that we collected from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And we basically asked farmers and the village leaders, what is the water level in their open wells before monsoon and after monsoon? And this just plots that. We have arranged all the villages, all the 270 villages, in rising order of the pre-monsoon water level. And the pink dots, they show that wherever the water tables are deeper, the monsoon recovery is higher. The second chart, it shows the same thing from 400, 500,000 villages from which minor irrigation census 2000-2001 collected data. That also shows the same thing, that wherever the water tables have been drawn down before monsoon and more space has been created, the monsoon recovery tends to be higher, except in those areas at the extreme right end, where the water tables in alluvial areas have gone so down that there has been a disconnect between the Vado zone and the actual. So it's only there that you find in areas like Mehsana and Patan in North Gujarat, where the entire, the upper 600-700 feet are completely desaturated, unsaturated, so that the rainfall, even heavy rain,